Next principle is go big. That might sound like something that goes without saying, but we started talking about a few minutes ago. You know, I didn't need to start with a small construction company and do all these things. There are lots of people that go big right away, and you can too. But going big for me was my first syndicated deal. And I'll tell you a little story about that. Is, you know, I was a general contractor with none of the business school experience that you know, some people are fortunate to get. And so I didn't know anything about the private equity world or how to raise capital, how to raise private equity for deals that I wanted to do. And what ended up happening was my grandfather, who was a general contractor, used to reinvest some of his profits into a developer's projects. They were building apartment buildings in the valley in California. And he was one day showing me this offering package on a deal that he had invested in back in the late 70s. And he was showing me, you know, he had invested like $10,000, which was a lot of money back in the late 70s. And I'm reading this business plan, and he was like, they took in like 40 investors to do this model to buy this apartment complex. And I went, the lights just went on and said, oh my gosh, I can do that. Now I already had partners where I was doing one-off deals. I'd get one partner, we'd flip a house. I'd get another partner, we might build a spec house, do some things like that. But I never thought about, well, what if I had 10 partners put a little bit of money in each? And so when that light bulb went off, or went on in my head, I should say, I went ahead and I did everything wrong, and this is not advice, by the way. I ran an ad in the Wall Street Journal, and I said, okay, I'm going to go develop condos. This was my first shot at thinking big. And I had never built condos before at this time. And so, but I had been a general contractor, and I knew what I wanted to do, right? I had mapped this out. And so ran an ad in the Wall Street Journal, cost me like $380 a week, which, you know, was, for me at the time, was still quite a lot of money. And I was taking a risk. My phone rang off the hook for months after that point in time. By the way, it was not technically legal to be advertising that way at that time. But I didn't know any better, right? I'm just getting started. Well, with a 3-page business plan to go out and develop condos, I raised $1,050,000, and I bought 2 houses, tore them down, and built a 4-story building over subterranean parking, and had my first successful syndicated development project. And it was based off of, I had no idea what I was doing. In fact, I was telling the story just last night with a couple of guys that the very last investor, they were $70,000 shares, by the way, and I was like 24 years old. The very last investor sent me the check, we deposited it, and he calls me up and he says, so Matt, when do I get the private placement memorandum? And I said, you know what, let me check on that for you. I had no idea what he was talking about, but he knew, and he was an attorney, by the way. So I went to my accountant, who was my best advisor at the time, one of my mentors, and I said, oh my God, what do I do? He says, you don't have a private placement memorandum? I said, no. I said, I don't even know what one is. And he says, oh, okay, well, here's an attorney. Go to him, and he'll fix this all stuff for you. So, you know, if you can write a big enough check, you can fix anything if you have the right attorney.